Happy Fragrant Friday, Fraghead. Hey everybody, this is Ben here at That Cologne Guy, coming at you with a new review. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. 2 weeks ago, I ran a poll. I had 4 samples, and you guys voted on which one I should wear for my birthday. And of course, you voted for Black Afghano by Nasomatto. And so second place was, you've seen the title and the description, but it's still fun to show it. And that is, if I can get it to focus, then it will be... Aha, there we go. Aha, voila. Enclave by Amouage. And I will be talking about the nomenclature in just a minute because, I have much to say about this fragrance. This one was another one that was extremely challenging for me to review, but I say that in a great way. Oftentimes when I do a review, my initial take on a fragrance is what usually sticks. I don't deviate too much from that, but every once in a while I will get a fragrance that there were days I wanted to give this a 2 out of 5. Days I wanted to go 3, days I wanted to go 4, then 2. It was just all over the place, and I have absolutely enjoyed wearing this fragrance, as noted, of course, by the dent that I put in this week on the juice. This is by Lucky Scent. I got 4, so I have 2 more after this, but this was the silver medalist in your poll. So as I mentioned before in other episodes, I'm not a huge fan of having to get used to a fragrance. If you guys sent me Koros, which is a fragrance I absolutely detest, if you sent me a bottle of it and I started wearing it, probably after about the 2 or 3 week mark, I would start to like it. We are frag heads. We're going to like these. And so I'm not a big fan of getting used to something I don't like. That said, I was a little lukewarm initially on this one, but I soon came to appreciate a lot of the nuances in this fragrance. All right, so before we dive in on the full review, let me quickly say, yet again, since last Friday, we have had the same number of fjords that are in Oman as new subscribers. Don't look at me like that. You're looking at me like that, like going, okay, yeah, there are no fjords in Oman. Oh, yes, there are. And there are many of them. And that's why since last Friday, I have added many new subscribers. So I really appreciate that. So welcome aboard. Thank you so much. Make sure you check out my channel. I do every week, every Friday, I do an episode, a full review in English, a very short conversation type review in English. Then I do one in Spanish and one in Portuguese of each fragrance that I review. And I have a 5 spray system. So when I give the review, if I give, let's say, 3 out of 5 at the end of the episode, I will spray or put dabs on the same number out of 5 onto me. So that's how the channel works. Welcome aboard. So this was the one that you guys voted to be the second place. So I did not wear this one on my birthday. I got to wear Black Afghano and thoroughly enjoyed that one. Make sure you check out that review from last week. But this one has so much to say. And I'm going to start off by admitting something, actually, because you guys know I like to talk about the nomenclature. So here's the thing. I was going to mention initially that I actually learned something, because I was going to mention a lot of my audience actually is made up of speakers for whom English is their second language. Or third or fourth. It's not their first language. And so I was going to remind them to make sure that they say enclave and not enclave, because I was going to say that in English it's enclave. I actually learned something today, which was, I was checking this out. Both pronunciations are accepted. So this is kind of like an envelope situation. Tomato. So castle. So all of a sudden, I had a mind-blowing experience, because I've always said this as enclave. Let me read the definition. So just hold on. And it said, by the way, that in the United Kingdom they would say enclave. Don't you guys? I lived in Manchester. Yeah. Don't you guys say enclave there? Anyway, Merriam-Webster gave the definition is a distinct of enclave, a distinct territorial, cultural, or social unit enclosed within or as if within a foreign country. And the example they give are ethnic enclaves. Do you say ethnic enclaves? I don't think you do. Really? Okay. Well, both, according to Merriam-Webster, both pronunciations are acceptable. I did not know that it was enclaves. That sounds like end caps or something in a supermarket. Ethnic enclaves, ethnic enclaves. From here on out, I will be saying enclave because that's what I do. But I wanted to let you know that. And I did not know that both were accepted. So do me a favor and actually comment below and let me know if you say enclave, and you can just if you say it like that, you can just put an E, and if you say enclave, then you can put it with an A, so like ANCLAVE, so we know that you're saying enclave, like father, enclave. I would be curious to see that. Okay, so that's the nomenclature. I'm going to go with enclave. The other thing I want to say about this fragrance is I'm going to read a couple things. And I'm going to read, first of all, what Amouage said on their website about this, because it does matter, actually. The inspiration for this fragrance is, I don't want to say a huge component, but it is a big component of why I appreciate this fragrance. Okay, here we go. And in post, I will add some sort of like theatrical, dramatic music. In a world. No, I'm kidding. As the last sun rays bid farewell to fjords in Musendam, Enclave sophisticatedly portrays the freshness trapped inside a rich, earthy, warm hideaway where land meets the sea. Blue and green notes of spearmint and cardamom oils transcend the fragrance stages, giving it a freshness that lasts forever, while the pleasantly surprising amber, labdanum, cinnamon oil, and saffiano together with earthy vetiver capture the surrounding hot mountains at that precise moment in time. Whoa. So, a couple things to take a note of. The inspiration for this fragrance was Musendam. Musendam is Musandam, and it's referring to the fjords that are in Oman. So you're telling me, no, you mean the fjords in Norway and Iceland? No. This is called Musendam. Apparently, is referred to as the Norway of the Middle East. I know I have at least one subscriber from Oman, because he or she has said that they live close to the main center of Amouage in Muscat, if I'm not mistaken. And so, if you are watching this, please let us know if you have been there. Musandam, Musendam, and those are. It's a beautiful place, and I have a link that I saw from the Telegraph, and I will put that in the description box. You can check that out. But it's absolutely beautiful. In fact, the bottle, I will try to in edit, I will try to put the bottle here at this point, because the bottle is the same color as the water that you see in a lot of the pictures, and I really appreciate that. So the inspiration is Musendam. They are fjords in Oman, or is it Oman? Okay, now. You might say, well, what are fjords? Well, I have the definition. Fjords are a long, narrow, deep inlet of the sea between high cliffs. So absolutely picturesque, beautiful pictures. Check it out for yourself. It looks beautiful. I would actually really like to go to Oman someday, based on that, and also to go see Amouage, of course. And I really appreciate this fragrance in terms of its inspiration. So let's go to the next thing I want to read quickly is the perfumer's take on this. And the perfumer is Julien, it's with an E-N, so it's a guy, Julien Rasquinet, and I will put that also at the bottom in post. Here's what he said. When I created Enclave, my idea was to capture the very special light of the sun setting on the fjords of Musendam. This moment, completely out of time, conveys opposite feelings that have extrapolated with contrasting ingredients. I choose to express the deep freshness of the fjords with spearmint and cardamom oils, which refresh the cliffs on which the sun has beaten down, all day long. I imagined the feeling of the incredible heat with noted of amber, labdanum, and cinnamon oil enriched with rose absolute and saffiano. I'm not sure what that is. Saffron? I'm not sure what saffiano is. While earthy notes of vetiver and patchouli evoke hot lands and stones. Whoa. I will say the notion of a collision here of fresh and versus warm, so like fresh and vibrant versus warm and seductive really does transpire in this fragrance. That's not just marketing. So let's take a look at some of the notes, but I wanted to talk about, first of all, the name. I wanted to talk about the inspiration, where it comes from, and then I wanted to define some of the terms and then end with what the perfumer has said. So when it comes to the notes, you can check out on fragrantica.com all the notes. I've alluded to some of them, but the main players for me are the opening, the top notes, which is spearmint, pink pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, and then later I also got rose and some leather. There's a new car smell to this. In fact, so one of the things, as I said, I'm trying to work in more is what does it smell like, right? So let me start with the bad news first, so we can get the inner Eeyore out. The bad news is on this one, in my estimation, the initial blast is off-putting. I know you want to boo me. Go ahead, but the initial blast of this thing smells exactly like toothpaste and mouthwash. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to, for $340 for a 3.4 ounce, okay, that's $100 per ounce. Yikes. 100 milliliter, of course. If you're going to charge that kind of money retail, the last thing you want someone to do is open this and feel either toothpaste, mouthwash, or perhaps chewing gum. Because I was going to say the second thing that you get a little bit of is it's almost like being in a new car. So after the first hour, then all of a sudden it's like being. Let's assume that we're all dressed up. We're going to go to this formal event, and we are in a brand spanking new car. You know that new car smell. So there's that, right? Someone has given somebody flowers, and so there's a leather, but then there's also a strong rose element in the car. And then someone says, before we go, would anyone like a piece of gum? And they get out Extra, specifically that brand, because I'm sponsored by them. No, I'm kidding. Because they have extremely strong, explosive gum. It's a little bit too much for me, actually. Extra spearmint gum mixed with, somebody else also has Big Red, which is cinnamon chewing gum. So the combination between Big Red and the Extra, right, spearmint and cinnamon, permeates the air along with this new car smell, and somebody has some roses with them, and so you get this intricate blend. And you might say, well, that sounds fantastic. It is. So that's what I mean. The first hour is off-putting for me. And the very first day I wore this, I was thinking this is going to be about a 1 or maybe a 2 rating out of 5 sprays, because I just feel like I'm putting on toothpaste for crazy money here. But then it really starts to develop after the first hour. From hour 1 on, I really appreciate the amber. You really get the leather. You really come to understand why this is an amber fougere. Now, one of the things that I really appreciate about this fragrance is when you think mint, you usually think, at least I do, you think ultra fresh, meaning summer, perhaps spring. This one absolutely is 365 days a year, and I did consider that when I will be giving my final rating in this one, because you cannot take away from this fragrance the fact that it is highly versatile. In fact, I'll just go to occasion right now and say anytime, anywhere, any day, any season, any age. Wow. Now, that if it seems like I'm gushing with compliments, let me just say one thing that's kind of wacky about this fragrance that I'm not liking. Okay, so this one actually is part of their Renaissance collection. And when it comes to the Renaissance collection, there are 4 fragrances. And what's interesting is 2 of them, including this one, has the bottles that they typically use for men, and the other 2 are bottles that they usually use for women's fragrances. But they are considered unisex, and it says for women and men. That's a little quirky, a little odd, right? So Amouage Enclave, to me, it's considered unisex, but to me, this one is a clearly masculine fragrance. I'm not sure what's going on, and I feel like it's odd that they're using the man's bottle for this one and the other one, and then the other 2 remaining in the Renaissance collection, they're using the women's bottles. I feel like they're trying to tell us something there, because this one is clearly well into the masculine range for a fragrance. I bet you would see probably 85 to 15 is my breakdown. I think you'd see 85% men wearing this, who would actually, people who went out, sought it after, bought it, wear it, even consider it their signature fragrance. This would be probably 85% and then 15% women. I mean, it does smell wonderful, especially with the spearmint initially, but I do think more men clearly will be wearing this fragrance. Okay, so that was the occasion. Anytime, anywhere. We did the age. We did the season, because like I said, I'm not even, it's just anybody when it comes to the age. And then we also did gender. Now, so let's look at longevity, projection, and sillage. This is a 2020 release. Whoa. You might be thinking, new Amouage, what are we doing here? I almost wonder if this type of release is kind of their way of telling us that the fragrances with Amouage DNA are coming back, right? We're starting to see rose and cardamom. That said, we're also seeing pink pepper, which is not necessarily one of their ingredients they're known for. But I hope that it is. I hope that this is a way of saying they're going back to their strengths. Because I have good news. When it comes to longevity, projection, and sillage, it is an Amouage type release. It's not Interlude Man, but what is? So I got, when it came to longevity, I did get the 8 to 10 hour thing range, and I would say closer to 8. But then again, don't forget I'm using dabs of a sample. If I had a full bottle, I do feel confident in saying that I would get up to 10 hours. And so it is a full work shift easily. The projection was also more of an Amouage type release, in the sense that it was more than an arm's length away. As I said, I did receive unsolicited compliments on this one, and so you are, when you come into a room, people are able to pick it up, and then when you're leaving and leave a scent trail, they're also able to pick it up. So sillage was fantastic. All right, there you have it. That is Enclave by Amouage. I learned a lot this week. I really appreciated this fragrance. It was so much fun, especially because it was one of the fragrances that I did not initially like from the first opening. And was I able to get past the toothpaste mouthwash vibe that I got initially? Yes, I was, and I have grown into this fragrance. As rare as that is, but I do appreciate that one, especially because for a lot of you guys, I mentioned before, a lot of us put on fragrance, and then whether it be dropping kids off at daycare or taking the metro, whatever, but oftentimes there is about an hour between the time you put on fragrance and the time that you are either going on a date, whatever you're going to do. There's usually about a period of like 45 minutes to an hour, and so for me that works out well, because the exact time that I'm not a super fan of this one is the time no one would really smell it, and about the time that I'd be getting to work is when things are starting to heat up. So really like Enclave, a pleasant surprise. I would probably give a 3.5 out of 5 sprays, but I don't do halves. So I have decided to drop this. No, I have decided to round up. I am going to bump this up to 4, and for the reasons I mentioned. Number 1, it is unequivocally original. When you when you pull off an amber fougere, if you're going to go there, then you better hit a home run. And they pretty much did. So they hit an in-the-park home run, okay, if you will allow that analogy. For the baseball fans. Okay, so, but they did. The Amber Fougere class tends to be really hit and miss for me. Of course, you might say, well, there's Jubilation 25, which is one of the best fragrances ever made. And then there's also Dark Temptation by Axe, which always needs to be brought up every once in a while. Really, really appreciate that fragrance. I do. I'm not being sarcastic. I really like that one. Check out that review as well if you haven't already. So these are Amber Fougeres. So if there were a flanker for this fragrance, I would say please tone down the initial spearmint. It's just a little too harsh for me. That said, very, 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 very good. And I'm happy to report that Amouage seems to be back on the right path. Or are they back in the right fjord? Back on the right enclave? Okay. So I'm going to go 4 out of 5 sprays, although this week they are dabs yet again for Enclave by Amouage. And let's go 1 on each wrist and then 1 awkwardly on each side of the neck. All right, here we go. Boom. Dab time. Boom. Boom. And I still have just a tad left, so I'll give you a dab. There you go. And that's just for you. And fun one. Hope you guys are doing well. I know a lot of you are still in lockdown in your countries from the pandemic, and I want to say yet again, I hope you're doing well. Stay safe, positive, and healthy. I'm certainly sending positive vibes over to you guys. So take care, have a great week, and always remember, fragrance marks the celebration of today. Take care, everybody. I really appreciate this one because this one is kind of the goal for a lot of people, meaning you like it, it smells very pleasant, it's highly versatile, and it projects well enough, and it has great sillage that you will get compliments. So this is kind of like, that's another reason why I decided to give it a slightly higher rating than my initial impression, because I really appreciate that about this fragrance. It really hits the target. It hits the bullseye actually when it comes to fragrances in many ways, in those ways that I just said. And that none of that's really going to make it on to the episode. Okay.